How much of ourselves had been eroded, extinguished? Were we returning richer or poorer, stronger or emptier? We did not know, but we knew that on the thresholds of our homes, for good or ill, a trial awaited us, and we anticipated it with fear. Soon, tomorrow, we should have to give battle against enemies still unknown, outside ourselves and inside. With what weapons, what energies, what willpower? The months just passed, though hard, of wandering on the margins of civilization now seemed to us like a truce, a parenthesis of unlimited availability, a providential but unrepeatable gift of fate. What I find interesting, since most of us will never be around to survive a classic apocalypse, what about the people who have survived a personal apocalypse? Meaning, they thought that they were going to die, they did not die. What happens when you take the idea of a future for granted, then you lose the idea of a future, and then you have to relearn the thinking that incorporates the idea of a future? Would you call yourself afraid of death before you even knew about HIV?
Yes. Yes. Did
you think about it much?
A lot.
You did?
I had never really actually thought about my own death.
And so when you were diagnosed, did the fear go up, or were you...
Yeah, actually there was this like really acute moment when it wasn't so much I was diagnosed, but I had gotten some bad medical news, and I felt my own lymph nodes, and at that point I knew. And I remember hitting the floor and crying, and then thinking about my father, and thinking that if he was alive, he would have protected me.
What I realized was, like, this is the kind of death where you've got, like, at least a couple of years' notice. And I thought, okay, with the 2-year window of opportunity, I can think about what I want to do with that period of time.
So did you associate your own likelihood, expectation of death with drug addiction?
Absolutely.
And how fearful were you of it?
Not afraid at all, because I knew what the outcome was going to be, and that was going to be death.
And you're ready for it?
I was as ready as one, completely nonplussed by it. It was just what was going to happen, a fact.
If an asteroid was headed to the Earth and 90% of the population would be wiped out, would you want to be one of the few to survive?
Would I want to be? No. Would I be? More than likely I would be. I'm a survivor like that. I kind of I tend to usually make it through.
So when did you get the feeling, when did you understand that perhaps you weren't going to die? How early in sobriety?
There was never a point at which I thought, oh, in sobriety.
Yeah.
It was touch and go for it seemed like a long time. But I guess probably a few months into it, I realized that I might live until the next day.
Did you find you had to readjust your brain to learning to think with the idea that you were going to be around?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right now, this is hard to admit, but for a while there, I was a little resentful, oddly enough, because everyone that I had been close to that did pass had already gone through the ordeal of it and were no longer with us. And I was still sort of holding on to something. And plus, at the time, at the end of that 5-year purgatory that you mentioned, I really had no idea what I was going to do.
It was difficult for a lot of guys to get back to work. And like I said, it was only the few lucky ones that sort of repurposed their lives and said, okay, I'm going to do something altruistic. I'm going to devote myself to, AIDS, HIV medicine care. I'm going to devote myself to, helping youth out. I'm going to devote myself to addiction recovery programs or whatever. But as long as they found a purpose, I think they got happy again. But a lot of them are, they're sort of living and they're not sure what they're doing.
Yeah. How's your conception of the future changed, and how has your fear of death changed?
I use death now a lot to keep asking myself, am I doing the best about what I can do with my everyday life? So I think it helps that way. I also, I am aware of this sort of weird sadness, like this sense of feeling like I wonder how the story turns out. And so the thought of like leaving this life and moving on to something unknown, other thing, or nothing, just makes me so sad.
Afghanistan and all my other deployments, they kind of taught me two things. One is how fragile life is. Like I think when you're younger and before you go overseas, you kind of think you're not invincible, but that it'll happen to the other guy, or like you're not really thinking that much about your mortality. Afterwards, though, you start realizing how easily a life can end. I mean, just at the blink of an eye.
All my friends and I, we've been talking about retirement, and it's basically understood that I'm supposed to make millions and millions of dollars and support everybody and travel everybody around the world. And I'm like, I'm so cool with that. So what has it been like for you to learn how to have a future again?
It's been wonderful. It's been like a newborn child coming back into life. It's just, it's amazing. I wouldn't trade it for anything.